Tonight on KGW News, flight cancellations start to kick in.
It's really frustrating. It feels like it's not necessary either.
The impact we'll see at PDX and what you should know about refunds and rebooking. Plus,
I've had to mourn a life that I've known for 32 years.
a Gresham mom shares a story of survival after a shooting leaves her paralyzed. Then, Portland just started enforcing its camping ban. So how many people were arrested and how many accepted help?
It's a life-saving intervention to keep people from dying.
And later, the Cosmos strut their stuff with a supermoon and a meteor shower. Good evening, everyone. We want to get right to breaking news with what appears to be good news, at least for some SNAP recipients. After a federal judge today ordered the Trump administration to issue November payments in full, tonight some of you are reporting new deposits in your accounts. We've heard from a handful of KGW viewers in Oregon, thanks for calling us, who say their SNAP cards have been reloaded, and posts online indicate the payments include full benefits. Once again, we have reached out to the State Human Services Department to confirm if everyone is getting their full benefits now. The administration had sent a plan to appeal today's ruling and was only going to issue slimmed down benefits, some 65%, as the government shutdown now in its 37th day continues. Of course, we'll keep you posted here. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Mulco, and speaking of the shutdown, starting in just a few hours, flight cancellations are set to ripple across the country. Here is what you need to know. PDX is among 40 airports where airlines have been required by the FAA to cut back flights. Those cuts will be phased in, starting with a 4% reduction in flights Friday and ramping up to 10% within a week. Now, all commercial airlines will be affected, though international flights will not be impacted. The Transportation Secretary says this is about keeping people safe as air traffic controllers are pushed to work without pay and amidst ongoing staffing shortages. Let's get right to Alma McCarty live at PDX. So, Alma, how are things looking right now?
Yeah, David, so far out of Portland, 6 arriving flights and 6 departing flights have been canceled tomorrow, with these airlines really trying to zero in on the higher frequency flights in order to have as little disruption as possible. Thursday at PDX, travelers moved smoothly through TSA lines, many arriving at gates with on-time departures.
Getting out of Atlanta was not a problem at all.
But for some, problems could soon be approaching as the FAA makes air traffic cuts beginning Friday.
You know, I'm flying out and I'm like, am I going to get canceled? And I'm not going to have a way back to my family.
It's really frustrating. It feels like it's not necessary either. Like we could solve this pretty easily and get back to normal.
Federal transportation leaders are requiring all airlines to issue full refunds for canceled flights. International flights won't be impacted, and it will be up to carriers to decide which flights are canceled while the shutdown continues.
I hope the shutdown ends soon.
In the meantime, however, carriers across the country are working to keep customers updated. Alaska explains that if your flight is canceled, they'll communicate with you directly about rebooking or getting a refund. The airline says most of the cancellations are on routes with more daily flights, like to Seattle or to Boise. United says they're doing the same, using technology to look at each airport to find the flights that could be canceled with the least possible disruption to customers. Thursday night, Delta reports all cancellations for Friday and Saturday have been completed, meaning if your flight's impacted, you already know. And Southwest announced even if your flight isn't one of those impacted, you can adjust travel plans at no cost or get your money back through next Wednesday. And that flexibility really sounds like the name of the game right now, with every airline really telling travelers over the next week to be sure and check your flight status periodically. David, back to you.
Yeah, it sounds like we're going to be in it for the long haul here. Thanks, Alma. By the way, there's been some talk about a solution to the shutdown behind closed doors, but in front of cameras, the arguments remain essentially the same. Republicans are calling for an extension of current funding levels on a short-term basis, while Democrats want to address enhanced Obamacare subsidies that are expiring at the end of the year, with health care premiums set to spike. Yes, there are reports some Senate Democrats are willing to support a stopgap bill to end the shutdown in exchange for a future vote on health care, but others in the party are refusing to yield without a real healthcare victory. We'll keep you following developments, of course, on the shutdown and everything it's impacting. That includes SNAP benefits, which the administration has now been ordered to pay in full. But first, let's check in on your weather impact forecast with a live look over Portland, where the rain has tapered off on this Thursday night. Matt, sounds like there is some dry time to finally look forward to.
It's been a slog over the last few days, but the rain is dried up in Portland. We've even had some breaks in the clouds. I could see that slightly less than full moon high up in the southeastern sky. We're at 51 degrees right now. Vancouver, the same story, 47 degrees and breaks in the clouds, which is great because it has been rainy. You can see there's still precipitation up in the Cascades. It is snowing at Timberline Lodge. I'll show that to you later on. But the rain has finally edged on out of the Portland area. And other than this band extending from roughly the Dalles down to Eugene, a few scattered showers around Pendleton, most of the state has dried out and will stay dry after we get through a few showers in the morning tomorrow. But that'll be nothing like the rain we've experienced today or in the last couple days. We'll cool off a little bit from the 60s of the last few days to a high of 56 tomorrow. Sunrise at 6:59 in the morning. So yes, we've got a nice change of pace on the way as the showers end. And a dry stretch begins this weekend along with some strong east winds. So speaking of that dry stretch, if you think it's been a slog through the last month, you're right. We'll talk about how many rainy weekends in a row we've had. David?
Yeah, change of pace is just what we need. Thanks, Matt. Okay, let's get to a traffic alert now with both directions of I-5 between I-405 and Southwest Terwilliger are expected to close soon and shut down until 5 in the morning. This is a live look at the interstate. It looks like things have actually just shut down. ODOT is installing signs that display real-time traffic information. You can use Barber to get around the first of 3 nighttime closures on the stretch. The same area we shut down, by the way, November 10th and 13th. And possibly another date in the future. All right, closer to downtown, 2 lanes of I-5 will be shut down between 2 and 5 in the overnight hours. ODOT will be inspecting the Morrison Bridge viaduct after KGW talked to a driver who was driving underneath last weekend when a piece of concrete fell onto his car. Multnomah County says the bridge and viaduct themselves are safe to drive on. Well, Portland is back to enforcing the city's camping ban. The mayor saying the goal is connecting people with shelter and that arrests are a last resort. Catherine Cook's here, though. Catherine, it sounds like dozens of people were arrested.
There were arrests, David, but also many people agreed to take shelter. But above all, police handed out a lot of warnings. And as the weather turns, they believe the most critical part of enforcing those camping bans will be saving lives. A wet Thursday evening in Northwest Portland, and Joseph, who's homeless, is out looking for cans. He's also getting used to changes coming for those who are homeless.
Like everything is brand new, it's a work in progress.
On November 1st, the city resumed its camping ban enforcement.
They can tell us, you can't camp here. Cool, we'll move.
Joseph says he appreciates the city's goal of connecting people with shelter and says he's among those using them, but notes for some that's not possible.
That can't necessarily be in a shelter because like PTSD issues.
It's not going to be the solution to all homelessness, but what it is it's a life-saving intervention to keep people from dying.
Rob Lane with Portland Solutions says resuming camping ban enforcement is feasible as the city realizes the mayor's goal of adding more shelter space. Currently, the city's offering 880 overnight beds, and Lane says last week they averaged 76% occupancy. On Saturday, police began targeted enforcement of the public camping ordinance. Since then, officers have talked with over 100 people at more than 50 campsites. More than 80 people were violating the camping ban, meaning they were in the public right-of-way. Police arrested 40 people, 39 of whom had outstanding warrants. They also issued 7 citations. And to the city's relief, 39 people accepted shelter services.
They had another option and they took it, which is pretty exciting to see. People can get really sick. It's really hard on people's bodies when they are below temperature, and when they're wet, it becomes even worse.
Lane says in 2023, 456 people died while living unsheltered in Multnomah County. Joseph believes that. He was almost one of them.
I ended up finding myself in the middle of a snowstorm, literally freezing to death with frostbite on both my hands. I wish this whole thing would have been an option years ago when I first came back to Portland.
In a statement, the mayor said he's proud of the job outreach workers and officers have done. As far as arrests linked to open warrants, he said, quote, "For some, it's an opportunity to resolve the issues keeping them on the streets, while others must be held accountable for preying on our community. David.
Thanks, Catherine. I appreciate the follow-up tonight. To get you caught up on tonight's other headlines now, the search for a hunter continues in the Mount Hood National Forest now a week after he went missing. Devin Dobeck left on a hunting trip last Thursday but never returned home. Friends found his car in the area and called for help. Search and rescue crews have been using thermal imaging cameras on drones to search from above and working through the area on foot.
It's really dangerous terrain here. The hills are very steep, have a lot of deadfall from the forest fires, and a lot of area to cover.
Friends say Dobeck is comfortable in the backcountry, but they are concerned he's been alone for this long. Federal authorities have arrested 7 people accused of running a multi-state burglary ring that targeted Asian business owners in Oregon and Washington. Prosecutors say the crews used signal jammers and surveillance tech to ransack homes while victims were at work. Police say they recovered stolen cash, jewelry, and designer items after tracking the suspects to a rental home in Eugene. 2 of the defendants made their first court appearances this week and are being held pending trial. And Oregon Supreme Court has finally taken up the voter-approved gun control law, Measure 114. It's been tied up in courts since it passed in 2022. Well, first, 114 requires training for a permit to buy guns. Then it gets rid of a loophole that allows dealers to skip waiting for background checks if they take longer than 3 days. And finally, it restricts high-capacity magazines to no more than 10 rounds.
The way that the technology operates now allowed the Las Vegas shooter to fire more than 100 rounds in a minute.
The fact of the matter is the Constitution of Oregon and the United States applies to things that did not exist when the document was written.
No word on how long a ruling could take.